In the late 17th century, a small village in Massachusetts called Salem was gripped by fear. It was a time when people believed in witchcraft. They thought some people had made deals with the devil. These people were called witches. The villagers believed witches could curse others with illness or misfortune. Life in Salem was hard. People struggled to survive in the harsh New England wilderness. There were tensions with Native American tribes. Many settlers feared attacks. This atmosphere of fear and suspicion created the perfect conditions for the Salem witch trials to begin. People were already afraid. They were quick to believe the worst of each other. This led to a dark chapter in American history. The trouble started with a group of young girls. They began to behave strangely. They had fits and seizures. They screamed and contorted their bodies. The villagers were baffled. Doctors couldn't find a medical explanation for their condition. Among those afflicted were Betty Parris and Abigail Williams. Betty was the daughter of the village's minister, Reverend Samuel Parris. Abigail was her cousin. Their bizarre behavior quickly attracted attention. People wondered if something sinister was at work. The villagers started to whisper about witchcraft. They suspected an evil force was responsible for the girls' illness. Under pressure, the girls began to accuse people of bewitching them. And so, the witch hunt began. The first people accused were easy targets. They were outsiders or social outcasts. Tituba, a slave owned by Reverend Parris, was one of the first accused. She came from Barbados and practiced a different religion. Sarah Good was a homeless woman. Sarah Osborne was an elderly woman who rarely went to church. These women were brought before the authorities. They were interrogated and pressured to confess to witchcraft. Tituba, fearing for her life, confessed to practicing magic. She claimed other witches were working with her. Her confession fueled the growing hysteria. With each new accusation, the fear in Salem grew stronger. Neighbors turned on neighbors. Friends accused friends. No one was safe from suspicion. As more and more people were accused, trials were held to determine their guilt or innocence. The trials were chaotic and unfair. The accused were not given proper legal representation. The most damning evidence used against the accused was something called spectral evidence. This meant the accusers claimed they saw the spirit or specter of the accused attacking them. This spectral evidence was impossible to disprove. It played a major role in convicting many innocent people. The trials were a terrifying spectacle. The accusers would scream and writhe in apparent agony. They claimed the accused were tormenting them with witchcraft. The accused were often subjected to humiliating physical examinations. They were searched for any marks that could be considered a sign of the devil. The courtroom was filled with an atmosphere of fear and hysteria. Spectators watched with a mix of horror and fascination, unsure of who might be accused next. The magistrates struggled to maintain order as the chaos unfolded. The accused, often bewildered and terrified, faced an almost certain conviction. The trials were not just a legal proceeding but a public spectacle, drawing large crowds. The community was gripped by paranoia, and the line between reality and superstition blurred. The Salem courtroom became a symbol of injustice and mass hysteria, a dark chapter in history that still resonates today. Section 5. Doubts begin to grow. As the trials continued, some people began to question the validity of the accusations. They doubted the use of spectral evidence. They worried that innocent people were being condemned. A turning point came when Governor William Phipps's own wife, Lady Mary Phipps, was accused of witchcraft. This shocked the community. It made people question the motives of the accusers. Governor Phipps, disturbed by his wife's accusation and the growing skepticism surrounding the trials, decided to intervene. He ordered a halt to the proceedings. He sought a fairer way to handle the accusations. Section 6. Picking up the pieces. In the aftermath of the trials, the people of Salem were left to confront the consequences of their actions. 20 people had been executed for witchcraft. Many more had been imprisoned or had their reputations destroyed. As the hysteria subsided, a sense of shame and regret settled over the community. People realized the terrible mistakes that had been made. Public apologies were issued. Attempts were made to offer legal restitution to those who had been wrongly accused and their families. The Salem witch trials serve as a stark reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria, unfounded accusations, and the abuse of power. Section 7. Why Salem? Historians and scholars have long debated the causes of the Salem witch trials. This dark chapter in American history has puzzled many for centuries. Why did this community, at this particular time, become consumed by such paranoia and fear? What unique circumstances led to this tragic series of events? Several factors likely contributed to the hysteria. It wasn't just one single cause, but a combination of elements that created a perfect storm. Religious extremism played a significant role. The Puritans who lived in Salem were deeply religious, adhering to a strict interpretation of Christianity. The Puritans who lived in Salem were deeply religious. Their faith was the cornerstone of their lives, influencing every aspect of their daily existence. They believed in the presence of the devil. To them, the devil was a real and ever-present threat, lurking in the shadows, waiting to corrupt their souls. They saw witchcraft as a real and present danger. Any deviation from their strict religious norms was viewed with suspicion and fear. Social tensions also played a part. Salem was a community divided by economic inequality, land disputes, and personal rivalries. These underlying issues created a fertile ground for conflict. Salem was a community divided by economic inequality, land disputes, and personal rivalries. These divisions often led to mistrust and resentment among neighbors. These tensions may have fueled accusations. In such a charged atmosphere, it was easy for fear and suspicion to spiral out of control. People used the trials to settle old scores or to gain power and influence. Accusations of witchcraft became a weapon in personal vendettas. The harsh living conditions in early colonial America also contributed to a climate of fear and uncertainty. Life was tough, and survival was a daily struggle. Disease, natural disasters, and conflicts with Native Americans created a sense of vulnerability. The constant threat of attack or illness added to the community's stress. People were looking for someone to blame for their misfortunes. In times of crisis, it's human nature to seek out scapegoats. And in Salem, this led to tragic consequences. Section 8. Remembering Salem today. The Salem witch trials, though a dark chapter in American history, continue to captivate and intrigue us centuries later. The trials, which took place in 1692, saw the execution of 20 innocent people, accused of witchcraft in a climate of fear and superstition. The events in Salem serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of mass hysteria, the importance of due process, and the need for critical thinking. The trials were fueled by paranoia and a lack of evidence, leading to tragic outcomes that could have been avoided with rational thought and fair legal practices. Today, Salem has reckoned with its past. The town has transformed from a place of fear to a place of reflection and education. The town has embraced its history while also acknowledging the injustices that occurred. Through museums, memorials, and educational programs, Salem ensures that the lessons of the past are not forgotten. The Salem Witch Trials Memorial stands as a solemn reminder of the victims. Each stone bench at the memorial is inscribed with the name of an individual who was executed, serving as a poignant tribute to their memory. The town has become a destination for those seeking to learn about the trials and to reflect on their enduring legacy. Visitors come from all over the world to understand the historical context and to pay their respects. The lessons of Salem are timeless. They teach us about the perils of allowing fear and suspicion to override justice and reason. They remind us that fear, suspicion, and intolerance can have devastating consequences. By remembering Salem, we are reminded to uphold the values of justice, fairness, and critical thinking in our own lives.